Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rebel Rewind. My name is Christopher. With me, as always, is Eric. How you doing, Eric?
Doing great. How you doing, Chris?
Doing good. Excited to talk some Star Wars news and rumors.
Yes, sir.
We do have a very special guest on tonight who was kind enough to make some room in his busy schedule. If you don't know him, he's such a love. He's got such a love for Star Wars that he named his channel "A Guy Who Loves Star Wars," just to put it simple. So let's bring him in. We got Mike here. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Of course. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's funny, and I'll preface this right off the bat. You mentioned that I was so smart to make my name "A Guy Who Loves Star Wars." When I made that name now 4 years ago, I didn't really know what I was doing until sort of people were like, "Oh my God, you're so smart! You made your name "A Guy Who Loves Star Wars." Like, nope, I was dumb. I made it "A Guy Who Loves Star Wars" just on a whim. Had no idea that it would actually become a thing. So, yeah, that wasn't intentional, really. Yeah, can't take the credit there.
I mean, it works so
It works.
right? It says it all.
Yeah.
We got a couple people in the chat here. We got SPC Unleashed. Hello there. Hey, SPC Unleashed. Thanks for hopping in the chat.
Yeah.
Your pal Joe in the chat says General Kenobi. Hello there. Yeah, so we got some pretty crazy news in the last week since we did our last episode, Eric.
Yes,
and
got a lot of stories.
Mike, you probably seen some of this news. You probably covered it in one of your live streams or your videos with all the Rey news and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy stuff going on here.
Hey, Mike, got a quick question.
Go for it.
What do you enjoy most about starting your YouTube channel? Just kind of interested.
Oh, when I started it. Well, I was reminded by my chat yesterday, actually, that my 4-year anniversary was a couple days ago for my channel. I didn't even know.
Sweet.
But 4 years. And I was like, oh my God, 4 years ago, what the hell was I thinking? So I thought back, starting it, I almost started it because people just didn't want to listen to me talk about Star Wars anymore. The people like my family and friends and whatever, they're getting sick and tired of it. I was talking Star Wars all day long. It was around the time of like The Mandalorian season 2. So it's like, Ahsoka's in Mando. And people are like, what are you talking about? And I was kind of losing my mind. So I was like, sort of getting put off by all these people going, stop talking about Star Wars, please. And I was like, okay, well, I want to keep talking about Star Wars. So how can I do this without annoying everybody around me? Because I don't want to annoy everybody around me. And then I was like, I'll make a channel. And at the time, obviously, I was watching other channels like a Star Wars Theory, like a Den of Nerds, stuff like that. And I was like, well, I could sit in front of a camera and talk about Star Wars too. And then something happened that I did that.
99.5 subscribers, 99.5 thousand subscribers later.
Yeah, that's still crazy to me.
That's incredible, man.
It's easy when you got that love for Star Wars. When it just makes it easier to talk about, right? So
yeah, for sure. It's people ask me all the time because I go live 3 times a week. They're like, "How do you talk about Star Wars for that long?" And I could do it every day. It's that easy. It just comes so just effortlessly. It's crazy.
Yeah. So let's jump into some news here because we got a few articles tonight.
Oh,
should
awesome.
go over.
Right.
The first one coming from Hollywood Reporter about the Rey movie, some Rey news. So Star Wars movies race for Rey and future of the franchise on the big screen. The scavenger turned Jedi, played by Daisy Ridley in the last 3 episode movies, is the key to the space opera's next turn. So yeah, lots to talk about here. All the articles we linked in the description below as well. So some fans have expressed the criticism that Lucasfilm would return to the well-to-make episodes, as they are called, beyond the 9 movies that comprise of the Skywalker story, which had been billed concluding with 2019's Star Wars Episode 9: The Rise of Skywalker, that grossed 1.077 billion globally, but also wasn't received well by much of the fan base. But Rey, the scavenger turned Jedi, played by Daisy Ridley in the last 3 episodes, movies is the key to the franchise's next turn. That potentially puts Kinberg's trilogy story development as early in its conceptual stages as it may be on a collision course with the Rey standalone movie that is actively in the works with director Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, which I believe we got another article that says otherwise here in a moment here. So conflicting news.
Hang on, Chris, one sec. I got people in my Discord asking, is the live on your channel or on the other channel? Because they're trying to tune in.
It is on both. It should be on both.
Oh, okay. Okay. They just said it wasn't live yet on your channel. I don't know what that was about.
That's weird. It should be on both.
Oh, okay. I might be wrong. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, it's set to go to both here. So
okay.
Let's see what the chat says. Yeah, let me know in the chat which channel you're on. If you're on Sire Speed or if you're on the Seriously Star Wars channel, because it should be on both.
Yeah,
Brandon Baker says hello. Hey, broski. Jedi Lex says, what's up? Photography Patrick says hello.
Patrick.
Your pal Joe saying hello again. Jumping over here. They're live on Eric's head. Okay, so that's weird. Technical difficulties, I guess. Yeah, it should be on there.
No worries.
Yeah.
I think it's only on Eric's, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's technical there. But continuing with the article here, where are we? Yeah, so perhaps that is why Lucasfilm was receptive to Kinberg's multi-story pitch. Anything to move Rey forward, but it does engender rumors. The Star Wars underground of filmmakers jostling for characters. Ridley, for her part, recently told Hollywood Reporter, "I feel like the new one/new ones will be so interesting. Time has passed and a lot has changed for me personally, so it'll be interesting to come back to someone who I know so well, but in such a different moment." So while insiders dispute the notion that there is a battle for Rey, there's definitely an internal deliberation within Lucasfilm as to what to do with the heir to the Skywalker next. Which that one right there is probably going to piss some people off. The heir to Skywalker. So she is the most valuable cinematic asset in some ways, maybe the only one Star Wars has right now. One source close to the franchise tells THR. Pedro Pascal's The Mandalorian and the Yoda-like Grogu are Disney Plus creations and will have their big screen power tested with the feature directed by Jon Favreau releasing in 2026. According to sources, Rey is set to play a role in several movies, which is pretty crazy. So the trilogy and the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy movie, which in my opinion, I think that's the first of the trilogy. I just don't think they've come out and said it. What are your thoughts on the trilogy, the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy movie? Because we're going to jump into an article here that I believe says something was wiped from the 2026 slate. Yeah. So, yeah, do you think it's one and the same? You think they just haven't came out and said it yet?
I do. I mean, here's the thing. They're not going to make 4 Rey movies.
No.
They understand that obviously the sequel trilogy was sort of a divisive thing. They know that some fans really enjoy it, some fans really don't. So they're going to obviously move towards the future. They have to do that at some point. But you're not going to do a one-off Rey movie with Charmin Obaid-Chinoy and Daisy Ridley and all that stuff, and then go do another trilogy with her. Like, what's the point in that? So I think they'll just sort of, plus that right now, as far as we're aware, that Rey movie doesn't have a writer. I mean, Stephen Knight left the project, as far as we're aware, a few weeks ago. So I would guess that Charmin Obaid-Chinoy movie is just the first movie of the trilogy. It would make the most amount of sense to me, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So you think,
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
They're going to scrap completely, or do you think they're just going to let her have that one story and then continue the rest of the story?
I think it's going to all be the same story. Like Daisy Ridley was pitched this idea to come back to Rey. And I think that idea has just sort of evolved into an entire trilogy. I honestly think she never signed on for just a one-off movie anyway. When these three movies, when I say three, I mean the Rey movie, Dawn of the Jedi movie, and the Mandalorian, Dave Filoni's Mandalorian movie. This was before the Mandalorian and Grogu was even announced. When those three movies were announced at Star Wars Celebration, I thought they were all beginnings of trilogies anyway. I still do. So I think the Rey movie is just now showing its true colors, which is that it's the beginning of a new trilogy. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, again, I think is the beginning of a new trilogy. And same with Dawn of the Jedi. So I think this was always the plan from the start. And we just aren't, as the audience and as the viewers, we aren't tuned in to what's behind the scenes. And behind the scenes right now is this Rey movie was probably always going to be the beginning of a new trilogy. And now they're just sort of confirming it.
Yeah.
They keep talking about her becoming the Obi-Wan of this trilogy, or this new trilogy.
Yeah.
So you think that she's gonna die off in the first movie? I think that's probably the only way to do it. She's gonna have to die off in the first movie, just like Obi-Wan did on the original.
When they say she's going to be the Obi-Wan, yeah, I think it's likely she's going to be the mentor type person. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to die in the first movie, but it would please a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah.
I love Daisy Ridley as an actress. I think if you're going to back a movie off of any of those actors or actresses, she's so good with the media. She's so good just talking that she's like the perfect option.
Yeah,
and she's a great actress. Great actress. So having her be the anchor to to start off the new trilogy is a great idea.
But you can't have her having 6 movies,
No, that's true. So she won't be the main character of this new trilogy. We're calling it a Rey trilogy because we have nothing else to call it. I don't think she'll be the main character at all, actually. I think she'll, like, Obi-Wan's not the main character of A New Hope. He's probably not even in the top 3. So, yeah, I think Rey will play that Obi-Wan role.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's happened with each and every trilogy too. If you think about it, like the prequels had the young Obi-Wan, and in the original trilogy he was a mentor to Luke, and then Luke moved on to be the mentor to Rey. So it kind of makes sense.
Yep.
So,
and every first movie seems to have that mentor die. I mean, you look at the Phantom Menace, it's Qui-Gon. You look at A New Hope, Obi-Wan. You look at even the Force Awakens, it's Han.
Yeah, it's Han. Yeah. It's like George says, it's like poetry. It repeats itself, repeats itself, right? So, but the article mentions several movies. So, do you think it's just the trilogy? Because I think there's talks of like another. What is it? Is it the Sean Levy movie? I guess he's rumored to be bringing Rey into his movie as well. So.
Yeah, they talked about that. And here's the deal. Maybe they just make Sean Levy's movie the second movie in the trilogy.
Yeah, right. It could be.
Like, as long as you have Simon Kinberg as the one writer for all 3, then you're going to have the
keep it cohesive.
They didn't really have for the sequel trilogy. You had 3 different directors, but really only 2. But 3 different directors for each movie trying to do different things for the whole sequel trilogy. If you have one writer and producer on the whole thing, then it's going to be a cohesive story. And it doesn't really matter which director you get. Yeah, it'll be a little bit different of a directing style, but writing-wise, it'll all be cohesive and well thought out. Yeah.
Yeah. Your pal Joe says, good cups follow orders. Hey, Brandon Baker. Yeah, Brandon as well says, your pal Joe and good cups follow orders, Mike. Sci-Fi says, good day, fellas. Hey, Sci-Fi. Yeah, so either way, pretty exciting news for the Rey content coming out. I mean, I enjoyed the character of Rey. Did they kind of I don't know, they kind of went back and forth in the sequel trilogy. It would have been cool if she was a nobody.
It would have been,
in my opinion.
I think there's a bunch of different routes they could have gone down where it would have been cool. If she was a Kenobi, would have been cool if it was done correctly. If she was a Palpatine, which she ended up being, I still think it could have been cool if it was planned out from the beginning.
Yeah.
If she was the nobody, would have been cool. If she was a Skywalker, would have been cool. But it all depended on it being a cohesive story from the jump. And if she was a Palpatine from the jump, they probably could have planted more seeds in there in the first and second movie. And then when it was revealed, you were like, oh my God, how did I miss that? In the second, in The Last Jedi, she did this, and it was like that. And but that didn't happen. So it was kind of they almost pinned themselves against each other. People who wanted her to be a nobody were like, yes, let's go. And then The Rise of Skywalker comes out and they're like, well, what about us? You know?
Yeah. Alex in the chat says hello there. What's up, Brandon? Hope your night's going good. Brandon say, Alex, good to see you. All right, so jumping into the next story here.
Our next story for this evening is Skeleton Crew Spotlight highlights a new Star Wars kids adventure. So Disney Plus is opening the floodgates of short spots with new snippets of footage that conveys a clear message. Get ready for Star Wars fun adventures coming in 2 weeks. So the latest, actually 13 days, right? So the latest 20-second promo focuses on how much these four kids wanted to get off their planet and embark on a space adventure, fighting pirates side by side with the Force wielder. So a new poster for the show also comes out this week. John Watts is the showrunner, executive producer, and director of the first and last episode. He co-creates in the series with Christopher Ford, who wrote 6 of 8 episodes. So directing lineup also includes Jake Schreier, Bryce Dallas Howard, Lee Isaac Chung, Daniel Kwan, Daniel Schreier, and David Lurie. The cast also includes Kerry Condon, Jaleel White as Pirate Gunter. So also Nick Frost as Robot SM-33 and Marty Matilis returning as Vane. So the first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew will come out on Disney Plus in December 3rd. So the shorts, I'm not sure if you're going to play the short, Chris, but
I'll play it. I'll play it so we can see. I can't remember if I've seen it already. I may have.
Don't you ever want to do anything exciting? That was my shot! Whoa!
That's cool.
Yeah, you could see the humor in it, which is awesome. And there was a clip online that I think it was dropped earlier today, and Jude says something about the kids, and he's like, oh, you can't check out the buffet or something, and I was like, this is great. Like, the humor is going to be great.
Yeah, I think this is a genius marketing strategy because, first of all, you can't just keep releasing 3 2.5-minute trailers every day. So to get people excited for the show, a lot of these 20-second trailers are the same scenes, but they're sprinkling in a little bit of a variation to make it more exciting and more cool for the fans who are getting hyped up for the show. You got 13 days. I bet you we're going to see at least 6 to 10 more of these, and they're all going to be giving a little bit more information as to what's going on in this show. I'm unbelievably excited for Skeleton Crew. I really have been for a little bit, but I wasn't sort of above and beyond excited until the last sort of maybe 5 days when they started releasing these things, because they're giving us a bunch of cool information about a show we know so little about. Skeleton Crew's in the Mandoverse, so you'd think right off the bat you know everything. Din Djarin, Grogu, Ahsoka. Nope, none of them. There's no familiar faces except for Vane, who's a side character at best. And the mystery on this one has me so excited. It's almost like they know that they have an ace up their sleeves, and once they pull it, they're going to be like, ha, look at this. It's so good. And we're all going to be like, oh my God, that's so good. So we got 13 days to see that, but these shorts definitely get me hyped up.
Yeah, I think it's pretty smart that they're going to utilize this format, the shorts format, because, I mean, everybody's on social media, TikToks and things like that, and I think this is easily for them to consume and to look at and get hyped up for.
That's exactly right. You have kids, which I guess this is more geared towards. It's Star Wars, let's be honest, as we are all adults here talking about Star Wars. You have these platforms like a TikTok or YouTube Reels or Shorts, or Instagram Reels, all these sort of short form advertisements. This is exactly that. They're just trying to tap into that younger market, and it's genius.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple comments here. So Joe, your pal Joe says, I love the way they filmed it. The camera work and the art style is so cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
They set out to do like an Amblin film in space, and you're totally getting those vibes from all the trailers and the stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Every time Neo pops up, it's like you
Yeah,
want to see what he's
right?
going to do. You want to see what he does. So it's cool.
It's funny how the fans have galvanized behind Neil. It was almost the first trailer, actually, probably even before the first trailer released, when we got images of these characters. Everybody attached themselves to this Neil character. And obviously, he's the cute sort of elephant looking. It's almost like Grogu to an extent.
Mhm.
But it
Yeah.
is funny when you think about it because it's a bunch of kids. But the one that looks like an elephant, everybody sort of gravitated towards. Yeah.
Kit Fisto in the chat. Thanks for hopping in the chat, Kit Fisto.
So this whole conversation kind of reminds me of what you were talking about. I think it was in your live stream yesterday about the planet and how they erased the name of the planet off of a social media, or was a story or something like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've talked about this a few times on my live streams because it's so crazy to me that nobody else is really talking about it. When this trailer, not that specific trailer, but when the trailer, the 2.5-minute trailer released a couple weeks ago, there was a StarWars.com article that came with it. And that article had a line from the co-creators, Christopher Ford and John Watts, that said something along the lines of like, when the kids left their planet, they found out that nobody else knew about their home world. Nobody else in the galaxy had heard of their home planet, something along those lines. And
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like, that itself is crazy. Nobody else in the galaxy's heard of their planet. What are we talking about here? It's a hidden planet like Camino, or what's going on? But to make matters even more crazy, once that got out and fans started to sort of talk about it, some people on X, formerly known as Twitter, started talking about it. Then they went, oh crap, this is too much information. So they went back and they deleted the line from the StarWars.com article. So if you look it up, I believe it's like Skeleton Crew, John Watts, Christopher Ford article, whatever, interview. The line itself is gone, and there's obviously screenshots of it. I still have screenshots of it. I posted a video today with a screenshot in it. But so it still exists out there. But on StarWars.com, it's gone. So clearly, with these 4 kids' home planet, they're trying to hide something. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is, but they're trying to hide something. And that seems to be the common theme with this show. They're hiding a lot. In all these trailers, they're hiding everything. Jude Law's character, they're hiding everything. And it excites me. It gets me so hype. A mystery, something to look forward to, something to speculate about. There's nothing like it in Star Wars.
And you know what's so funny? Just like Luke Skywalker says, nothing ever happens on this planet. He takes off. Everything happens on
Tatooine.
Tatooine. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how it kind of like aligns with the original.
Yeah, actually, to that point, Christopher Ford, in an article I read yesterday during the live stream, he said something like, if you're on Tatooine in a battle, then you're probably going to want to leave so that you're safe. But these kids are safe on this boring planet, and they want to leave to go join the battle. So it's like almost the reverse, the opposite.
Yeah. And you commented on Jude Law's character being kind of like a mystery too. And what are your thoughts on him specifically being possibly not the good guy? Because
here's the deal.
Even looking at the poster, because a lot of the posters, right, he's like dead center, right in the middle, right? Like a lot of times that's where they place the bad guy. You put Darth Vader in the middle, you put Kylo Ren in the middle. Now you got Jude Law in the middle.
And what's even more interesting to me, well, obviously Jude Law's character, and we can talk about him till the end of time, because all these interviews that are coming out with Jude Law, he's so hesitant on what he says. He's like, I can't say anything. He's asked about being a Jedi. He's asked about being a Sith, and he can't even answer that. If he's not a Sith, then say, no, I'm not a Sith. He can't even answer that. It's crazy. But even looking at that poster right there, it's all confusing. Jude Law's right dab in the middle, usually where the bad guy is, like you just said, Chris.
Yep.
Then you have Fern's mom. She's been in like one scene of a trailer. What's she doing there?
Yeah.
Then you have SM-33, who's obviously going to be the main droid. Then you got Brutus, who's the captain of the pirates, as at least that's what we're told. We're told that because we don't know that from the trailers. We barely see Brutus in any of the trailers. Then you have that owl-looking handsome fella, and he's just as mysterious. You see him in one frame of a trailer. So it's like, this is the poster for your show? A bunch of nobodies that we barely see in the trailer? What's going on here?
right? And the owl dude, like, he's important enough where they made a Funko Pop already of him. Like,
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
Like, so he must be in a pretty important character,
Yeah, exactly. He has to be. If he's on all the posters
right?
and they're making toys of him, like he has to be
Yeah.
some sort of important character. But to us, only having seen the trailers, we have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah.
It's wild. But going back to Jude Law, because you asked, it's weird. We know he wields the Force. In the first trailer, he wields the Force, and yet they're trying to almost deny that. Jude Law, in an interview, when asked if he wields the Force, he said, "Do I?" Like, what? What are we talking? We saw you wield the Force. What are you talking about? So it's very strange to me, this whole Jude Law situation. Like, he was specifically asked yesterday, "Are you a Sith?" Or maybe it was this morning. "Are you a Sith?" And he couldn't respond. He couldn't say no. And obviously, I don't think he's going to be a Sith. I don't think he's going to be a Jedi either. But what is he? You know, what is he?
Right. I mean, that whole scene from the first trailer where you see him, using the Force, like, is it going to be a Hotjaw thing from Kenobi, or are they trying to trick us by having, like, him standing there, but like somebody else is using the Force? Like, maybe it's one of the kids, and they're hiding it. So
I do like that theory a lot, because there's 4 kids here. Clearly, they're introducing these 4 kids for a reason. What strikes me is, going back to when they announced the Dave Filoni Mando movie. They announced Dave Filoni's Mando movie at Star Wars Celebration 2023, I guess, over a year ago now. And when they announced it, they said it was going to be a combination of all these Mandoverse stories, and they named them. They named all of them, and they named The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, and the Skeleton Crew. Meaning, Skeleton Crew characters in the story of Skeleton Crew would tie in to the Mandoverse, tie into Dave Filoni's movie. So these 4 kids have to be pretty important, and to make the argument that maybe one of them is Force sensitive is not that crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, which one? And I think everybody in the chat would say Neil, but I would guess maybe Wim.
Yeah, your boy Wim.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. Remember when I brought up a while back that one of the kids might be using the Force? Particularly Neil. There we go. Because he isn't in the frame, and therefore you can't tell if he's using his hand. Yeah,
I do remember that. I do remember that, and it's not that far off. It can't be. Like, you got a weird part in the Star Wars timeline where Luke Skywalker is starting up his Jedi Academy, and now you're going to introduce 4 brand new kid characters. I would absolutely love, and I'm sure a bunch of fans would love to see at least one of them go off to go train with Luke frickin' Skywalker.
Yeah, right?
That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out in less than a couple weeks here. So
13 days. I'm so excited. Here's the deal, too. You got all these different events going on at the same time. You got Thrawn, who just re-entered the galaxy. You got Ahsoka, who's off in a different galaxy dealing with maybe Abeloth, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Luke Skywalker, who's starting up his Jedi Temple. You got Coruscant with Mon Mothma and Leia doing their thing from the Aftermath trilogy. You got the Skeleton Crew now with the pirates and these kids. There's so much going on at the exact same time in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's all going to converge at some point. Probably all around Thrawn, but at some point they're all going to come together. And that's going to be on the big screen. Like, we're sitting here as Star Wars fans looking towards the future. That future is unbelievably bright. Like, it's all right in front of our faces too, because all this stuff has been just leading to this epic event that will be on the big screen where Star Wars is supposed to be. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, which I'm excited for, to get back to theaters, because that's how it was. Like, Star Wars was coming out around the holidays. It wasn't Christmas that got me excited. It was Star Wars coming out in December. So
that's what it's all about. Going to the theaters, watching Star Wars.
And that's the best part about Skeleton Crew.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Christmas show, or at least it's not, obviously not Christmas themed, but it is. Everybody's going to be at home watching Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, with their families. It's going to be just as much of a Christmas show as Die Hard.
Exactly. Right.
So jumping into some Andor news now. So this was posted earlier this week, last week here. So we got the Empire magazine showed us some images, and I think there was an article in there and some interviews and stuff. All our articles we're going over will be in the description below as well for you guys to check those out if you want to read the full articles yourself. Yep.
Actually,
Go ahead, Mike.
So this Empire magazine thing dropped last week, obviously, but the magazine itself with all the extra interviews and whatever comes out tomorrow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Are you picking up the magazine?
No. Yeah, you would expect me to go, yeah, of course. No.
You know what? Like, so as much of a collector as I am, like getting sidetracked here, I do have like a collection of magazines, Star Wars Insider, different covers and stuff. But like, it's like I can't remember the last time I actually went out and bought a magazine. So
me either.
As appealing as the cover is, which it does show in the article here. I think the cover, there's a cover.
Yeah, there it is.
Which is great. You got Andor flashing his new his new outfit there. You got Krennic coming back, which I'm excited for. We got some Andor updates here. So Empire Magazine reveals Ben Mendelsohn's return, which is great. I love Ben Mendelsohn. He's a great actor. So Lucasfilm is already building some momentum for Andor Season 2 following last week's announcement, or I guess now a couple weeks ago now, that the critically acclaimed series will return on April 22nd on Disney+. Disney Plus dropped a look forward video on Tuesday featuring some footage from the new season. And today on November 14th, Empire Magazine revealed that Tony Gilroy's series will be the main topic of the new issue that will be released on November 21st, which, as Mike said, is tomorrow. On the cover of the issue, we have Diego Luna's Cassian front and center. There's also Genevieve O'Reilly's Mon Mothma, and the much anticipated return of Ben Mendelsohn's Orson Krennic, the main villain of Rogue One, who was confirmed back in August to be appearing in the new season. An image of Cassian from the new season also came out right here, which is interesting. I'm not too sure what to make of that. It looks like he's in maybe the TIE Defender here, possibly.
I think he is, yeah.
In the cockpit. That image got dropped as well. And Luna talked to the publication about Cassian's journey in the new season, saying he's a man fully committed to the rebellion. It's someone who has to ascend. There's a huge mountain for him to climb in order to become the guy we meet in Rogue One. Because like in Rogue One, he's ready to kill people. So,
Oh yeah.
Another returning face is Alan Tudyk's K2SO, Cassian's droid ally. Diego Luna added the following about their characters' relationship. So he said, from an audience perspective, they probably made their own story about how Cassian and K2 got to work together. It tells you a lot about Cassian and that his best friend is a droid, and a droid he had to reprogram. But how did that actually happen, and who was he before? Those questions are going to be answered, which I'm excited for. It says, we move in space more than ever. The amount of planets and sets you're going to see, there are some familiar and new locations, which this one is kind of interesting. It kind of looks like Lothal, in my opinion. You guys have some thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean,
vegetation in the background. Yeah,
it definitely looks like outside of like Ezra's house type deal, like those sort of planes. I've heard Lothal thrown around quite a bit lately from this show, Skeleton Crew, whatever. It's surprising to me when you look at Star Wars how many new planets are added instead of going back to old planets. So I wonder if this will be a new planet because Andor Season 1 added so many new planets. Or if it will be Lothal. I mean, Lothal is one of my favorite planets. I'm a huge Star Wars Rebels guy, so anytime I get to see that planet would be fantastic. But based off of Andor Season 1, I guess it'd be a new planet, but it does look very similar to Lothal.
Yeah. It would be neat because could we possibly see some of the Rebels crew on Lothal in Andor?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Because Andor Season 2 spans over 4 years, in those same 4 years of the years that Rebels takes place, I mean, it's not impossible at all. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no. And you got the guy who plays Ezra. He can come back and play the younger version of him.
Yep.
Why not?
I think Harrison Dula is probably the most likely.
Yeah.
Because we know for a fact that Yavin 4 will be in Andor season 2, and in Rogue One, the Ghost is actually
and Chopper too.
And Chopper, yes, and Chopper. So it would be pretty cool. That would be, I mean, seeing, because like you just said, they have the actors and actresses now. They've casted them, and they're at the perfect age where they can kind of be in between that. Like, there's not that far of a time jump between this Andor season 2 and Ahsoka. It's about 10 years, 11 years, something like that. To make an actor or actress look 10 years younger is a lot easier than making them look 30, 40, 50 years younger. So.
Yeah.
So Ben Mendelsohn looked the same. I mean, I know that's just...
Yeah, he does. He looks exactly the same.
Yep.
What do you think, Eric? Do you think it's Lothal?
I think that'd be an awesome tie-in, man, if they did make it Lothal. So I think that would be cool. You see even the rolling like little hills and things in the background. That's
in the far right corner.
Planet that looks almost exactly as far as we see, on the image right
there. Yeah. Deidre Merrill versus Krennic. I'm so excited. Yeah.
I love her character.
And hopefully we'll get to see what happens with Cyril Karn too.
I'm guessing he's going to eat more cereal.
Yeah, right?
Gonna guess he drinks some more blue milk.
His mom's gonna yell at him more.
Yeah, that was so strange in a show that's so well written. And I understand the arc, I get it, but did we really have to spend that much time watching him eat cereal?
Yeah, that was a lot of cereal. All right,
it's great. It's going to be awesome to be able to catch up with these characters again.
Krennic. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
I'm hyped. I can't wait.
Andor season 2, it's at the top of my list as in like near future projects. It's way more exciting to me than Skeleton Crew. Obviously, I just talked about how excited I am for Skeleton Crew, but Skeleton Crew is 13 days away. We're talking about a show that's 5 months away now. But you have a first season of this show, and that first season was freaking good. So I'm hyped for the second season because the first season was so good. Obviously, if the first season was bad, I wouldn't be as hyped.
Yeah, exactly. The first season of Andor was, in my opinion, it's up there with Mando. I think Mando's still the top live action series for me, but Andor was like definitely up there. It was number 2 spot for me.
Yeah, it's number 3 for me, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so jumping into some more news here.
Okay.
Of Yavin 4.
All right.
Ooh.
So Tony Gilroy talks about Andor season 2, and we'll tell the story of Yavin. So Andor, the second season, will not only delve into the relationship between Cassian and K2SO, but also see episodes not only span the years leading up to Rogue One, but also how the iconic world of Yavin becomes the rebel base. So we move into space more than ever. The amount of planets set, and we're going to be able to see. We get to see new locations and new and familiar locations. Teases Luna, and there's one in particular fans are thrilling to go back to see. So we have Yavin. So Gilroy promises a return to the rebel base from the original Star Wars trilogy, also seen in Rogue One. So we'll tell the story of Yavin. No one has quite dealt with Yavin the way we will be doing it. So I did a little research on Yavin 4 and how important played a role in the galactic event. So it not only served a rebel base, but also serves as a planet where a Jedi Knight, Exar Kun, fell to the dark side, destruction of the Sith Lord Freedon Nad during the Great Sith War. And in 5000 BBY, the Sith Lord Naga Sato fled to Yavin 4 with an army of Masasi warriors. Also, he did some mutation on his soldiers, but they were nice enough to build them temples. So we have a little story, a backdrop of Yavin 4. Maybe we'll get to see some of these little stories in Andor season 2 or mentions of these.
So I thought
it was kind of interesting.
What's really cool about that is obviously it's a Sith connection, which that's always great. it's talking about something that's back in the old Republic, which is crazy. And when you look at season 1 of Andor, it didn't really have any of that. Tony Gilroy is infamous for not really knowing Star Wars much. He's a great writer, but he's not really a big Star Wars guy. Like, he doesn't know the lore and stuff. So that's why Andor season 1, yes, there's some crazy stuff thrown in there, like the when Luthen gives Cassian that Kyber crystal and talks about the Rakatan Empire. Like, that's crazy stuff. But that probably wasn't Tony Gilroy. Him specifically talking about diving deeper than anybody's ever gone into Yavin is very interesting. I don't know what to sort of take from that. The fact that those are probably Sith temples is insane. Like, are we actually going to go down that road in Andor season 2? I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit tough to dive into some of that, since we're only getting like 4 years of stuff. So like every 3 episodes is another year, right? So
maybe some mention.
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, maybe even if it's a mention, it would be cool.
Or some old relics or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Also, with Yavin, like we just talked about before, you have the opportunity to show us the Ghost and Chopper and Hera.
Yeah.
You also have some other characters from Rogue One, as we know this show leads directly into Rogue One, like Bail Organa that could show up because he's on Yavin 4 in Rogue One. So there's a bunch of different sort of characters, because Yavin's in the second season, that could be in the second season, especially for the good guys with the Rebels crew, Bail Organa, maybe even Leia Organa, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah. How do you think fans will take that, though, bringing back Leia for Andor?
Well, the reason I held her to last is because I don't think she will be in it. However, if she is, I think it'll be like everything else. Like Anakin coming back, like Luke coming back, it's gonna be loved. I don't think people are really gonna hate on that at all. Now, my question is, are they gonna deepfake her or are they gonna recast her? And it seems as though they're gonna be going down the deepfake route, as they have been for the last decade.
Yeah. I mean, the deepfake has gotten really good over the past couple of years, like with the last Luke Skywalker deepfake in the Book of Boba Fett. Like, that was really good. So I mean, if they get Billy Lord in and kind of pay respects to Carrie Fisher at the same time by getting her daughter to play her and then deepfake her, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And going back to you said Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett, what's crazy to me is Luke's first appearance is in The Mandalorian season 2. And then he's only in it for probably like 5 minutes, and his screen time is probably like 20 seconds. But that at the time was so mind-blowingly cool. But when you go back and watch The Mandalorian season 2 now, it doesn't really look like, obviously it looks good, but it doesn't look like perfect or anything close to that. But not even just over a year later was the Book of Boba Fett, where Luke's in like 40 minutes of an entire episode, and he looks incredible. To this day, it looks perfect. So it's insane how quickly that technology gets better and better and better. And you're talking about the last time we saw Leia was in 2016 in Rogue One. We're coming up on 2025 now, 9 years later. Imagine how much better that technology is.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't even do maybe a deep fake. Maybe they'll just mention it over a loudspeaker, like from time to time. Oh, you're needed here.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a nice little comment, even if they did that.
Honestly, I would not like that. Here's the deal. With Ahsoka, I think Ahsoka is a perfect show with one very small flaw, and that is sending C-3PO in instead of Leia. If Leia was in that episode, even just for a scene, coming in to save Hera's ass, and like whenever that guy was coming after her in that sort of court hearing or whatever it was, and Leia walks in behind her instead of C-3PO, that would have been like this perfection, absolute perfection. C-3PO is cool, don't get me wrong, and he could have still been with her, but if it was Leia, it would have been just so awesome.
You're right.
And it would lead to fans going, okay, if Leia's back, if Luke's back, Han's probably next, Chewie's after that, Lando's after that. We're bringing the whole band back together, but that's not the conversation.
Right? Yeah, your pal Joe says, yep, 100%, Mike.
Yep.
Yeah.
Senator Ziono, yeah.
Yeah, that's his name. That's the name.
Right?
Yeah.
And the thing with Leia, like, they have somebody who could do the voice. You got the girl who does the voice for all the Lego shows. She does Leia's voice for that stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
and she's a great voice actor. She's worked with in other Star Wars projects as well, right? So,
Yeah,
you can bring Leia back for sure. So now jumping into an article again about the Daisy Ridley Rey movie. So this one was posted November 16th, so just last Friday. So Disney removes an untitled Star Wars movie dated for December 18th, 2026 from its calendar, previously rumored to be The New Jedi Order. So in a move that has likely shocked no one, Disney and Lucasfilm has confirmed today that the untitled Star Wars movie set to release on December 18th, 2026 has been removed from Disney's release calendar and has since been replaced by the recently announced Ice Age 6. So before we continue, so that's just their stuff there. Disney and Lucasfilm have never commented as to what the untitled Star Wars movie was aiming to release on that date, though the belief has been that it was due to be the Star Wars New Jedi Order working title, which would see Daisy Ridley return as Rey Skywalker in a film that was directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. So it was originally announced, or formally announced, in April 2023 at Star Wars Celebration. The New Jedi Order has been in development for over 3 years, which and was originally being written by Damon Lindoff and Justin Britt Gibson, who left and was replaced by Stephen Knight, who then left as well. So I don't know, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
On this, the Rey movie, I don't think was ever really intended to come out on that date. I think
Yeah.
fans put that movie on that date. If it was ever intended to, they probably would have announced that.
Yeah.
Yes, fans obviously want Star Wars movies as quick as possible, but to me, I don't see this as bad news, or obviously it's bad news, but I don't see it as like the end of the world. I think this Rey, which we talked about earlier, is probably going to be a trilogy. I think this Rey trilogy needs to be done correctly. It's very important that it gets done correctly because it's the future. Whatever you feel, however you feel about the sequel trilogy, whether you like it or not, there has to be a story past that. There has to be a future of the Star Wars galaxy. So it has to be done right. You want to kick off that future correctly. So I say, and that's just my personal opinion, take whatever time you need to get it right and get it right. Like, I don't care if it doesn't come out for the next 5 years. Just get it right, you know?
Yeah. I agree, because like it was never formally announced that it was the Rey movie coming out in that slot, and it could have been like the Dawn of the Jedi movie coming out in that slot, because they're supposed to be going into production soon. So I guess I'm not surprised that they removed it from their schedule, because I mean neither movie had gone into production yet. Like, and now the Rey trilogy, you know, they just got their writers, so that's way behind, right? So, but I mean, get the story right. Like Simon Kinberg has whatever amount of time to get that story right, and start filming maybe the following year or whatever when they get that done.
Yeah, I mean,
what are your thoughts, Eric?
So the Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy movie, I mean, had so much. I mean, I got to bring in the baggage, right? So it had so much like negativity attached to it because of, you know, her points of views and some of the things that she said before. But and I thought, well, I would have, me personally, would have preferred that than that one and done kind of story, and then start off fresh with maybe one of her students, and the trilogy would be a continuation, not of her, but of one of her students that become like exceptionally gifted or something like that. So I mean, that's my point of view, but I think for them putting this on hold, if that's the case, probably would be the best thing. But like we talked about earlier, one cohesive story, if it's going to be a trilogy, would be a better thing than what we've got from the sequels, in my opinion.
Yeah, and what I actually think that what you're describing is what this next trilogy is going to be. I don't think Lucasfilm, Disney, whatever you want to call them, they're not dumb. they understand that people were very divided on The Last Jedi. They're very divided on the sequel trilogy. There's a reason that The Acolyte's not getting second season. I like The Acolyte, but I'm not sitting here telling you that it probably, I want it to get a second season, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it should. Because Lucasfilm's not dumb. That show got very little views, and it hurt the fandom quite a bit. Same thing with The Last Jedi. Same thing with the sequel trilogy. Whenever you have people coming at each other like at each other's throats at all times, it's not good. It's not good for the company. It's not good for the franchise. So you want to keep everybody happy, and keeping everybody happy is a very difficult task to accomplish. Even the best Star Wars project out there, whatever you think it is, whether it's Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, whatever you think your favorite Star Wars project is, there's probably somebody out there that hates it, like with a burning passion. So it's pretty hard to keep everybody satisfied. But to make a trilogy that moves forward, like Eric was just saying, he wanted to see just a Rey one-off movie so that we could get over and done with that. But there are those sequel fans. So trying to please everybody, you're going to bring in Rey, you're going to bring back Finn, make him a Jedi, hopefully. You're going to bring in those characters, do them to the best of your ability, but yeah, they're not going to be the main characters. This new trilogy, although we're calling it the Rey trilogy, it's not a Rey trilogy, at least as from what I can look at from afar, not really being in those writer rooms. I think it's going to be a brand new cast. Yes, Rey will be a main character, but not the main character. It'll be new characters, and she'll probably die off in the first or second movie.
Yeah. And you know what? Grogu's also going to be around during this time as well, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
He'll be older, and he lives to be like Yoda's species lives to be at least 900 years old. So
at least
maybe the next trilogy will be a Grogu trilogy.
Unless he dies brutally in The Mandalorian. What?
No,
no,
Mike.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself there.
You just, I just heard the voices of 1,000 fans cry out all at once.
Unsubscribe.
No, but either way, I think we'll just have to wait and see. But it is good that they're taking the time and perfecting this stuff, right? So
yeah, I mean, like you said, if they're doing this correctly, it should be a story that, yes, can involve Rey and Finn, but it should be Grogu. It should be Ezra. It should be Ahsoka if she's still alive. It should be, I don't even know, Sabine if she's still alive. Din Djarin if he's probably not going to be still alive, but still alive. It should be those characters all together, like the fan favorite characters. Grogu has to be a part of the next phase. He has to be part of the next saga, whatever you want to call it, because he will grow up to be 800 years old. So he has to be a part of that. Even if he is a Mandalorian Jedi, he doesn't even want to be a part of Rey's Jedi Order. He has to be a part of the story in some sort of way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to look past making movies for now. We need to look past into the future and what movies can carry on for 40 more years into the future. Something we're going to talk about in 20, 30, 40 years about, how was this trilogy? How amazing this trilogy was.
Exactly. We got to find the next original trilogy. And honestly, that might be the hardest task ever. Even at the time, George Lucas himself didn't even think the original trilogy was going to do what it did. So to give us the next original trilogy is almost impossible. But even the prequel trilogy nowadays,
at least we'll
shoot for it. The prequel trilogy nowadays is turned into that. Like, people who grew up on that are going to say that it's the best because that's what they were introduced to. Like, prequel trilogy fans are now at the age where they're the ones talking the most about Star Wars. So the prequel trilogies come around to now it's really, really good. But at some point, that prequel trilogy sucked. You know?
Yeah. And it's going to be the same with the sequel trilogy when those kids get older, right? So
probably.
Yeah. Thrawn trilogy, Mandoverse, yeah. Right.
Well, yeah, talking about that, I mean, we're talking about a Rey trilogy, obviously, but there is hopefully 2 other trilogies on the docket, and that's a Mandalorian trilogy and a Dawn of the Jedi trilogy. And each one is better than the last. A Rey trilogy is like, cool, yeah, we're going to the future. Fine, whatever. A Mando trilogy is like, oh my God, Din Djarin, Grogu, Ahsoka, all Boba Fett, all these characters coming together to be in a trilogy against Grand Admiral Thrawn. Sign me up. And then don't even get me started on 25,000 years before Origins of the Jedi story that could kick off the Jedi Sith Wars and the Old Republic and all that. Like, even if you don't like one trilogy, if there's 3 going on at the same time,
Yeah.
pick your poison. Like, pick what you like the most.
Yeah, and if they find a way to tie the 3 trilogies together too, I'm all for it.
Exactly. They're so vastly far apart, but they can be connected. There's these things
Yeah.
like the sacred texts, for example. You're going to have Rey basing her whole new Jedi Order off of these sacred texts. You can watch somebody write those sacred texts in the Dawn of the Jedi movie.
Yep.
You're going to see her go to Arc-2, which is the first Jedi temple. You're going to see her go to Tython, go to all these different old Jedi temples. You can see those people build those Jedi temples. Like, that's the cool stuff in Star Wars that you can see with these 2 trilogies that could come out at the exact same time. So in the same year where you see a crippling, falling down, moss overgrown Jedi temple, you can see that Jedi temple pristine in a movie the next year, 25,000 years before. That's so cool. There's nothing else like that. Really nothing else like that.
Yeah. Your pal Joe had a good question here. Is there a worry that the movies may not be as good because of the amount of projects?
That's
I mean,
an interesting
as
one.
long as you have a good writer, like Simon Kinberg is a great writer. If they have a good writer for the other 2 movies or trilogies and keep it cohesive, I don't think there's going to be an issue.
I agree. I think there's obviously people have that worry because of what's kind of going on with the MCU. If you guys are MCU fans, of course, like you have after Infinity War and Endgame, just this almost oversaturation of the market where you're getting shows like She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel that fans aren't really attaching to, but you're also still getting really good ones like Loki. So the worry is, are we going to be getting some good Star Wars content and some really bad Star Wars content? We don't want that. We want all good Star Wars content.
Mhm.
So, but to that, I say there's no lack of good, great, incredible writers, directors in Hollywood. Getting those people to be attached to a Star Wars project is not that difficult. So when you look at the projects like sorry, Chris just said, you got Simon Kinberg attached to this Rey trilogy. You got John and Dave attached to the Mando trilogy, and you got James Mangold. James Mangold in who I like to call Mr. Willymon, the guy who wrote for a lot of the Andor show, working on the Dawn of the Jedi. So you got it in good hands. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And same with the directors, because like James Mangold has proven himself with other movies that he's done, like the Logan movie was fantastic. I got Paul in the house. Paul's collectible crap. I'm very interested in seeing where the franchise is going for sure. Hey, Paul, thanks for hopping in the chat.
Late, Paul. You're late.
You are forgiven, Paul.
Not by me.
So yeah. So some more Andor news here.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
So Andor Season 2 brings a video game, a TIE fighter, Star Wars canon. So Star Wars forever bringing elements of prior extended universes. Andor Season 2 is doing a little bit by featuring a ship from 1994's video game. So Total Film spotted protagonist Cassian Andor stealing a TIE Avenger ship in the brief snippet of footage released in Disney Plus coming 2025 trailer. So it's obviously part of the TIE fighter family, featured a myriad of Star Wars projects, but specifically comes from a 30-plus-year-old game, TIE Fighter PC game. So those who played Star Wars X-Fighter versus TIE Fighter and Star Wars X-Wing Alliance, and also recognize the TIE Avenger, but the ship has otherwise been absent from Star Wars lore over the years. So it's pushed into the unofficial extended universe when Disney bought Lucasfilm, of course, but it will also make a triumphant return into canon sometime during the Andor Season 2. So we're noticing that the cockpit looks a little bit more spacious, Andor in it. So it's a little bit larger ship from the interior and a wider ship. So I think it's pretty cool that they're bringing up another type of TIE fighter into the that's actually been around 30 plus years ago. So bringing it back officially into canon is cool.
That is really cool. I actually didn't even know that. They've done this a lot recently, which is bring in legend stuff or bring in older stuff or whatever. when you have such a like enormous Legends base, almost like you have so much content from like 1983 to 1999 and even beyond that of Legends content, where you can just tap into it and steal some just specific things, and that's and obviously you gotta have fans, hardcore fans like ourselves, who are gonna find that stuff, and that's the cool part of it. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great when they bring in stuff from older media or older forms of media, whether it be like some of the older shows, the video games, toys, even like we saw in Ahsoka with that R2 unit that was on Lothal, right? So it's just another like hardcore fans like us. We're gonna be like, that's the Leo DiCaprio, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Going back to tie this all together, funnily enough, this TIE Fighter game, I just saw an interview today with Jude Law, where sorry, not Jude Law, John Watts and Christopher Ford, where they're talking about how they sort of grew up on Star Wars. And Christopher Ford talks about how he like saw the movies in the theaters and stuff, whatever. And John Watts says that he was too young to go to or remember the movies in the theaters, but he grew up on the TIE Fighter game. He grew up on the Star Wars video games.
That's cool.
That's fun.
Yeah. Paul says fan service done well is very cool for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I hate that people use fan service as like a negative thing. Fan service is not like, yes, it can be a negative thing, but usually it's not. Like, fan service is what you're trying to do. Are you not trying to service the fans? Like, that's the whole goal here.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Absolutely. So we got one more news article to
breaking news. I'm not sure if anybody heard this. I don't think I've heard anybody talking about this. So, Henry Cavill is rumored to have talked about potential role in Simon Kinberg's trilogy. I think that's pretty exciting. So, could previous big screen Superman take flight in the galaxy far, far away? So last week, the news broke that Lucasfilm is developing a new Star Wars trilogy by Simon Kinberg. So claims is that none other than Henry Cavill has met with Lucasfilm about a potential role. So Cavill will appear in a number of course, major comic book movies, franchise, Man of Steel. Also, we have him on what was that? The Witcher. So I think that would come in handy if he becomes a Jedi or something, or a Sith. So, but the actor has not talked about. He talks about his love for Star Wars, but he hasn't responded anything about these rumors. So I think that's pretty cool. That it's still a speculation, a little rumor out there. But I thought that was interesting. That maybe we'd get Henry Cavill as a Jedi or a Sith, or maybe an official officer or something. I think. Well, I was just kind of like speculating. It would be kind of cool. He looks more official, right? With his demeanor and everything. Maybe he's a officer turned Jedi. He maybe maybe in the future or something like that. I thought that was kind of cool.
That's definitely breaking news. I've not seen this article. That's pretty dang cool, if I do say so myself. Here's the thing with Henry Cavill. He's known for being a nerd, like a big time nerd like ourselves.
Yeah.
He's big into everything. That's why he loved doing The Witcher so much. I know he's a Star Wars fan, which is fantastic. And Star Wars still should be able to bring in the big names. And Henry Cavill's a big name. That would be so cool. And I'm just going over my head who I'd want him to play. He would make... He's obviously Superman, so he's a good hero. But he's a villain in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible movies. I think he works really well as a villain. Imagine him as like this bulky, obviously like he is, beefy, giant Sith Lord, like a Darth Krayt or something. Like imagine him as this, like in the Rey trilogy or something. That would be crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. Henry Cavill in Star Wars would be that would be a headline.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's exciting if it is true.
Yeah.
I just saw that story. I'm like, okay, this has got to be out there.
Yeah. Even if it's a rumor, that's a great one. That's a great one to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as a villain, like you said, Mike, like in I can't remember which Mission Impossible one, but he was the the villain in it, and
Mhm.
he does play a good villain.
He does. He's a good actor.
So,
That's the deal.
he's a great actor,
Yeah.
right?
And you always want those people who, like, everybody loves the guy who loves what they're doing. So like when you
Yeah.
look at Star Wars, everybody loved John Boyega because he was such a big Star Wars fan. So
Yeah.
with Cavill, it would be very similar. That would be awesome.
And with his British accent, always the British actors always play the bad guys on the show. So on Star Wars, so I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
On the Imperial or
And
something.
and he's already got some of that Disney cash there.
Yeah.
Like from doing the Deadpool and Wolverine, right? So it wouldn't be too hard for them to be like, hey, come do something else for us.
That was crazy. I did not see that coming in Deadpool Wolverine, honestly. The cavalry.
Right? The cavalry, yeah.
That was awesome.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
We heard some news a while back that we would possibly see Keanu and Sigourney Weaver at some point. Yeah, Sigourney is in the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves.
I think it was rumored that he was originally supposed to, like, they were looking at him to play Soul in The Acolyte.
Yeah. I'm guessing because fans have casted him as Darth Revan for years that they'll try to do that. Maybe if it's like an older version of Revan or something, a holocron of Revan, whatever. But honestly, I would rather just have Keanu play a new character. And yeah, you'd get some backlash. People would be like, it's not Darth Revan. But if you did the character well enough, then you'd have Keanu Reeves as this great new character in Star Wars. I wouldn't mind seeing him in the Dawn of the Jedi movie. Imagine Keanu Reeves is like the first Jedi to make a lightsaber or something. That would be so cool.
Right?
Yep.
That would be amazing.
That'd be so cool.
Definitely.
So that's all the articles we have. I wanted to kind of chat a little bit before we end our episode about moving away from the Skywalkers, and it kind of seems like that's what they're going to do with this next trilogy, with Rey kind of being the mentor figure and kind of mentoring these new Jedi, whether it's like Grogu's there and she's mentoring Grogu and Finn and stuff. Like John Boyega is young enough; he could be in the following trilogy after that if they do like episodes 13, 14, 15 later on. Like he could be in that trilogy even if they don't do too far of a time jump. And I know a lot of fans want to move away from the Skywalkers, but there's still like there's some fans that are always like, you know what, we got to go back to like bringing Luke and Han and Leia back into these projects and doing stories between Return of the Jedi and the sequels and all that stuff. But it seems more like moving away from them and bringing in more characters and different characters seems to be the way to go. But like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, how does Lucasfilm do this going forward?
Yeah, so that's why this Rey movie being delayed, like we talked about, or maybe delayed. We don't even know if it was going to be on that date. That's why it being delayed is not bad news. We need them to get this right. That Rey movie has so much riding on it because it is going to be that just outside the Skywalker saga, starting hopefully a new saga after the Skywalker saga with new characters. Like there's not going to be a Skywalker in that. As much as Rey took the name, she's only a Skywalker in name. Like she's not actually a blood Skywalker. So there's not going to be a continuation of the bloodline. So, and honestly, I like it that way. Keep the Skywalker saga as it is, as the story of Anakin, his kids, and his grandkids. That's fantastic. But moving out and not filling in the gaps, you've already filled in the gap between the prequels and the originals pretty dang good. There's not much left there. You got the Bad Batch 3 seasons, Rebels 4 seasons, Kenobi, Andor 2 seasons, Rogue One, Solo, comics, like all that stuff. You got it pretty filled in. The gap that's still pretty large is that one between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. And I think they're going to take their time to fill that in with the Mandoverse stuff, a Mando trilogy, maybe Book of Boba Fett season 2, maybe Skeleton Crew season 2, obviously Ahsoka season 2, maybe even like a Luke Skywalker animated show or something to show his Jedi Temple and maybe fill in the gaps of how Kylo Ren fell to the dark side, make it more meaningful to certain Star Wars fans like they did with Anakin in the prequels. But yeah, they're going to fill in that time period. But once you fill in that, where do you go? You got to go to somewhere else. So they have to set it off well with the Rey movie and I guess with the Dawn of the Jedi movie. But at some point, you're gonna cover every weekend in that sort of 60-year time frame. You got to move somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think Eric, you mentioned it as well. Like you got to move forward. You got to
move forward.
set things up for the next
nice.
20, 30 years, right?
Back for the period of the time that that we want to fill in, but at the same time, we need to go into the future and new characters, new Sith Lords. So
yeah,
I think going past the Skywalker storyline is the best thing to do for the future.
Yeah, and actually what Star Wars Order said in the chat right there, that he prefers to delay the Rey movie after the Dawn of the Jedi. I think a lot of fans don't really want the Rey movie, so they want it to just keep getting delayed and every other project to sort of be ahead of it. But Lucasfilm, again, is not stupid. They know what's going on, so they made sure that this Rey movie would not be the first movie back in theaters. It's The Mandalorian and Grogu. So even if it's the second or third, there's an introduction back to the theaters before the Rey movie. I think they know that they have a win on their hands with The Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's why they made it first. But I think Dawn of the Jedi, if done correctly, could be a massive win for them. So I wouldn't mind it being before the Rey movie either.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, first movie coming out is the Mandalorian and Grogu, which from the leak footage, I mean, it looks pretty amazing from the images that they've leaked online, right, and stuff like that. So yeah. It looks pretty amazing, and Dave and John are behind it, so
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's a sure thing.
And new characters, like your pal Joe says, new characters. I know I always see the hate on the Star Wars fandom side of things, and maybe it's just me, but I see people say, "Oh, Disney Star Wars this, Disney Star Wars that." Disney Star Wars has been really good at a few things, and one of them is creating new characters. You could argue that obviously you got characters like Rey and Rose Tico that fans don't really attach to very well, but they've given us characters like Din Djarin, Grogu, Cal Kestis, Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger, like the list goes on and on and on. There's some incredible new characters. So the Stranger, yeah. But when you got the right writers, like a Dave Filoni or whomever, you can create a pretty dang good new character and even base a whole trilogy off of them. Yeah, I agree. Mando and Grogu does look good from the trailers. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of fans forget that Rebels was created by Disney.
Yeah.
And actually, people forget, because here's the funniest part about it. A lot of people like to just take the negative when it comes to Star Wars news and not even talk about the positive. So when Simon Kinberg got this trilogy, or at least the news of him getting a trilogy came out, a lot of people were talking about how he made X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, which are probably arguably at least the worst rated X-Men movies, and the Fantastic Four movie, which came out in 2015, which was the reboot that was, again, not received very well at all. So they only took the bad movies he did, and they go, the guy who did X-Men Dark Phoenix and the Fantastic Four reboot is doing the next Star Wars trilogy. It's the end of the world. But they forget that he was also an executive producer on all the Deadpool movies. He also co-created all 4 seasons of Star Wars Rebels with Dave Filoni. Like, this guy knows his stuff, Star Wars wise and writing wise. So it's like, there's got to be bad projects here and there, but there's also great ones.
Yeah. Well, we tend to dwell on the negative.
And the projects he's worked on too, like he's worked with people who have either been in Star Wars now, like he's worked with like Pedro Pascal on stuff. I think was Pedro Pascal, or he's worked with some actors and some other directors and stuff that have either worked on Star Wars already or who are going to be in Star Wars.
He worked on Jumper.
Really?
Yeah, he worked on Jumper with Hayden Christensen. Yeah, so
that's pretty good.
Like he's got all these Star Wars connections, either through actually working on it with Dave Filoni or working with these actors and other people who have worked on it themselves. So yeah, I think he's a perfect choice for it.
Yeah, but the biggest thing to me with Star Wars creator-wise, the directors and writers, is, do you have experience outside of Star Wars, but also do you have experience with Star Wars? I think every director or even writer that is going to get a movie should have to do a couple episodes of a Disney Plus show.
Thank you.
Writing wise or directing wise. Like Bryce Dallas Howard should be due for a movie now.
Yeah.
So should Jon Favreau, which he's getting. So should Dave Filoni, which he's getting. Like James Mangold, even I would not mind him directing an episode of Skeleton Crew or something like that. Like that would be fantastic. When you hear like Simon Kinberg hopping on to do a trilogy, the fact that he's co-created the 4 seasons of Rebels, that alone has got me so hyped up for this trilogy because he has experience with Star Wars, and not just any Star Wars, some of the best Star Wars, co-creating it. So the argument with Sharmina Bedchinoy, going back to her in the Rey movie, is that she doesn't have much experience directing in general. She's only done short films and a couple episodes of Ms. Marvel, but she has no experience with Star Wars. So put her on a couple episodes of Skeleton Crew or Ahsoka or whatever, and just give her some experience and give her something that fans can go, I loved that episode on Disney Plus. I'm probably going to like what she does in the movie. It's not that hard. I mean, everybody wants these people to succeed. We're not actively trying to put these people down because we want to. It's more so just give them something to applaud in the Star Wars universe. Give them an episode of something, anything, and people will love it. People love Bryce Dallas Howard. People love Rick. I don't even know how to say his last name, but the guy who does a lot of
yeah.
People love those people. If they got a Star Wars movie and it was announced tomorrow, everybody would applaud it. They go, let's go. Finally, it's about damn time. Like, that's what you want to see.
Yeah. However, for as little as Sharmina Obaid-Chinoy doesn't know about Star Wars, if that is the first movie in the Simon Kinberg trilogy, like, then you got the guy who knows Star Wars to write it all, and then she just has to come in and direct, right? And give her feel to the Star Wars movie, right? So it does make sense that could be the first one in the trilogy. Yeah,
it's not just one. It's not a one-man team, that's for sure.
No. Yeah, it's a partnership.
Thank you, Paul.
Is BDH directing an episode of Skeleton Crew? She does. Yeah, I think she is, because she was in the. They did that roundtable like creator discussion on Star Wars.
She's got episode 5, I think, or maybe 6. They released the directors.
Yeah, so that'll be good. But I think that does it for this episode. Quite a bit of exciting stuff coming, potentially coming with Henry Cavill and stuff like that. Mike, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us and chat some Star Wars news and rumors.
This was fun.
Of course. No, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, if by some reason there are some people watching this who may have been living under a rock and they don't know who you are, do you want to let people know where they can find you, all your social media stuff, your personal address in case they want to send you something?
Yes, of course. A guy who loves Star Wars everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, I guess TikTok, Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. Everywhere. So Facebook, if that still even exists. So go check out. I go live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for the rest of your lives. We're getting close to 100K, which is something pretty crazy. Yeah. So
But thank you everyone also in the chat for joining and chatting with us this evening, and we'll see everyone in the next episode.
Oh my God.